episode 584 of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Tonight going to be talking all about WWE Friday Night Smackdown Live from Detroit, Michigan, with all the fallout from WrestleMania 40, and featuring the number one contenders match for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship, and tonight's episode of AEW Rampage, as 1 week from this Sunday is AEW Dynasty on pay-per-view. Right here, right now, 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Hello, Wrestling Fanatics. Welcome to this Friday night episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Got two shows to talk about as an usual Friday night. Not quite as busy as last Friday when we also had the WWE Hall of Fame and the Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor pay-per-view. This week we are back to our regular Friday night shows. WWE Friday Night Smackdown and AEW Rampage. Let's get started on this Friday night and talk WWE Smackdown, which was live in my hometown, my home state, Detroit, Michigan. Unfortunately, I was not able to make it to the Little Caesars Arena. I was stuck watching at home from the 360 studios. But I just want to say this: if anybody here in Michigan is listening to the podcast and you were at Smackdown tonight, feel free to send in a live report from the live show. How was it like live? How was the crowd? I know it was a sellout tonight, and I guess I can just go ahead and talk about this now, since it was not on the actual Fox broadcast of SmackDown. Starting Monday, I believe, was when they started it. During the commercial breaks, once again, there are teases. Just like with Bray Wyatt, when he did the whole White Rabbit thing, those teases happened during commercial breaks, and they even did them at house shows too. And on Raw this past Monday night, and tonight on SmackDown, the screen kind of got a little fuzzy there, and there was some kind of song playing, and the lights flickering. I'm not sure what the song was right now. Might be able to find out. But after the Bray Wyatt Becoming Immortal documentary, it started some teases of possibly WWE bringing back the Uncle Howdy character. And with these teases that we have seen this week at Raw and now SmackDown too, it could be a possibility. But let me know what you think in the comments, whether you think we are actually going to see this Uncle Howdy character come on WWE TV. just let me know in the comment section, either right here on Spreaker, YouTube, or wherever you listen to 360 Wrestling Podcasts at. And our commentators for tonight, Corey Graves and Wade Barrett. And we start off with the new, undisputed WWE Universal Champion, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Gets a good pop from the Detroit crowd here tonight. And tonight we will see 2 qualifying triple threat matches. And the winners of these 2 triple threats will face one-on-one next week on Smackdown to determine their number 1 contender. And we start things off on Smackdown tonight with the first triple threat match. LA Knight, Bobby Lashley, and Santos Escobar. With LA Knight getting the win in this first triple threat match to advance to next week. And next up, Braun Breaker defeats Cameron Grimes. Quick match here, just about a little less than a minute and a half, I think. I definitely like the Braun Breaker push so far. They're really making him look real strong, having him come out and destroy jobbers really quick so far. And Corey Graves did mention on commentary about how he is the son and nephew of Michigan's own, the Steiner brothers. Speaking of the Steiner brothers, though, they're going to be a part of their WCW season premiere episode of WWE's Most Wanted Treasures this Sunday on WWE Superstar Sunday on A&E. So make sure you check that out. And now we have the new WWE Women's Champion, Bayley, after her victory over Io Sky at WrestleMania 40. And then she is interrupted by Tiffany Stratton as Wade Barrett says Detroit just become the center of the universe. And she wants a shot at Bayley's WWE Women's Championship. But Bayley says she was thinking Naomi. And we have a singles match, Naomi and Tiffany Stratton. Naomi getting the win. And next up we see Chelsea Green. Well, first we see her and her partner Piper Niven in the back complaining about Chelsea having to have a match against Jade Cargill on Raw Monday night. And then Chelsea Green and Piper Niven are in action. And their opponents, Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. Another short match here. Jade and Bianca getting the win. And I forgot something big, gotta go back to. For some reason I didn't put it in my notes. But we have Solo Sikoa, Jimmy Uso, and Paul Heyman out. And Solo attacks his brother Jimmy. And then at this time, we get the debut of Tama Tonga, which is not a big surprise. This has been talked about since Tama Tonga has exited New Japan Pro Wrestling. was just waiting to see when it was actually going to happen. But like I said, Samoan Spike and Solo putting the chair around his brother's neck, and then the bulldozer in the corner, and Paul Heyman not happy about it. And we see them in the back, Caleb Braxton talking to Paul Heyman. And then we see Tama Tonga and Solo Sikoa once again. And they say orders from the tribal chief. So definitely interesting to see what kind of angle they have in store for the bloodline next. And now it is time for our main event of Smackdown this week. The other triple threat match to determine the number one contender, or who will be in the number one contenders match next week, I should say. The phenomenal AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, and Rey Mysterio. And we see Kevin Owens interviewed in the back, making his way to the ring. He walks by a table, and they have one of the Tigers WWE Championships. If for some reason you haven't seen them, they have like they came out with the NFL ones, they came out with MLB replica championships that are available at WWEshop.com. And he picked up the Tigers one, said, "I love Tigers." And he took the cameraman with him as he made his way through the backstage area, through the gorilla position, and then out to the ring. Really good triple threat match here. I'd probably say this is my pick for match of the night on SmackDown. AJ Styles getting the win, and a rematch from WrestleMania 40 next week on SmackDown. AJ Styles and LA Knight to determine the number one contender for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. LA Knight comes down to the ring after the match, and him and Styles have a face-to-face. Don't know about anyone else, but I am definitely hoping for AJ Styles to defeat LA Knight next week and become the number one contender. And then that'd be a good match. AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes for the Universal Championship. That's one I would definitely like to see. And now we go on over to TNT for AEW Rampage, which was taped last Wednesday night after Dynamite in Charleston, West Virginia. Our commentators for Rampage tonight, Tony Schiavone, Excalibur, and Chris Jericho. We start things off, freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy taking on Dark Order member Alex Reynolds with John Silver in his corner. Pretty good match here, and you could tell that Orange is a little distracted, not quite himself after the explosion of the Best Friends and the trail of Trent Beretta last week. Orange Cassidy does get the win. And then after the match, the remarkable Renee Paquette goes to interview OC, doesn't say anything, and then we get Trent Beretta making his way out to the ring, doesn't say anything, and then we see Chuck Taylor come from the crowd and enter the ring behind Orange Cassidy. And for a second, it kind of looks like we might see Chuck Taylor join up with Trent Beretta and maybe attack Orange from behind. But that is not the case. He steps in front of Orange, has a little stare down with Trent, and Trent says to him, "Oh, I thought we were best friends." Chuck doesn't say anything and then leaves, kind of looking like he's a little torn. And then he exits again, and Trent leaves, and I wonder if this could possibly lead to a three-way match with Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor, and Trent Beretta. And also, where does Rocky Romero fit in this situation? Kind of a part of Best Friends, or Trent's mom, Sue, for that matter. And we have the AEW TBS champion honoring the House of Black, Julia Hart, in action, taking on legit Layla Hirsch. Pretty good match here. Julia Hart gets the win. And then in the back, we see the Don Callis family. And we find out that Powerhouse Hobbs and the Ring of Honor World Television Champion Kyle Fletcher will be taking on the Blackpool Combat Club team of the American Dragon Bryan Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli tomorrow night on Collision. Next up on Rampage, we have Cool Hand Angelo Parker taking on Zach Knight with his sister Soraya and Harley Cameron. This match has been building recently, and last week, or a couple weeks ago, I should say, on Rampage, Parker attacked Knight in the back, which caused Ruby Soho to break up with him and leave him. And this one, pretty good match. Parker ends up getting busted open. Soraya and Harley get involved, and then they are ejected from ringside. But Zach Knight still gets the victory here, defeating Angelo Parker, getting the win. And our main event of Rampage this week, as Mark Henry would say, it's time for the main event. Switchblade Jay White, along with the Guns, the Bang Bang Gang. He's in action with Matt Sydal. Not a bad main event here on Rampage. Jay White getting the win. And that is tonight's episode of AEW Rampage. So overall, I would say it was a good Friday night of pro wrestling we had. Even though, unfortunately, I was not able to make it to Smackdown here in Detroit. But would probably be up even later during this podcast because would have had to DVR Rampage. But who knows, maybe next time. I don't think a return date to Detroit has been announced just yet, or at least not that I have seen anywhere online anyway. And AEW have not heard anything about them returning to Detroit anytime soon. And leave your thoughts and your comments and ratings of both shows in the comment section, especially if you were here in Michigan tonight and were able to attend Smackdown. Give your live reaction to the crowd. Also, this new tease that we got during the commercial break. Is it going to be Uncle Howdy showing up on WWE TV? Let me know what you think. Oh, before I forget, also, what was the pre-show dark match or if they did any post dark match or anything after Smackdown went off the air. You can leave your report in the comment section, either right here on Spreaker, YouTube, or wherever you listen to 360 Wrestling Podcasts. Or you can also email me your live report of SmackDown tonight at 360wrestlingpodcasts@gmail.com. Just email everything about the show like I just talked about, 360wrestlingpodcasts@gmail.com. And as usual, I'll put the email in the description. Remember, you can follow 360 Wrestling Podcasts on Instagram and Threads, 360 Wrestling Podcasts on X at 360 Wrestling Pod. Facebook, not really updated, but you can go there and like it anyway, 360 Wrestling Podcasts. I will be back tomorrow morning for the Saturday episode of Good Morning Wrestling Fans to preview tomorrow night's episode of AEW Saturday Collision, and Collision will be followed by Battle of the Belts 10 right after, also on TNT. So we'll preview both of those tomorrow morning. Hope you will all join me for GMWF. But until tomorrow morning, I am Lance, and I am a wrestling fanatic.